Diablo 4 Season 6 is losing players fast. Does this mean that Diablo 4 is in danger? Is Diablo 4 maybe dead? Well, honestly, I forgot Diablo 4 even exists. I just played Vessel of Hatred when it came out, did a review on the storyline and spoilers. It's a 2 out of 10 complete incoherent mess of garbage dribble. It's literally shit. Not a single part of the story makes sense, okay? It's really sad, in fact. I didn't even play the new class. I just played the Necromancer. I still haven't played the new class. This is how forgettable Diablo 4 is. Effectively, if anyone asks me, Diablo 4 has died the exact same way as Diablo 3, because the brutal reality of Diablo 4 is the devs are a bunch of absolute morons, without question, without exception, without any silver lining in this case, and they have literally made Diablo 4 into a carbon copy of everything that Diablo 3 is, but worse somehow. Currently, Diablo's 4 endgame and midgame are non-existential garbage, where people just get to kill monsters that have a lot of HP, and either they stun log them and they kill them because overpowered BS strategies, or they just die and there's no skill involved. It is really sad, and Diablo 4 is effectively as dead as dead can be. The only reason why people are still playing this game is because, well, Diablo 4 has actually done one unique thing in comparison to Diablo 3, and that is created a situation where it's actually profitable to run bots and farm items in this game in gold. There you go. Yeah, so I would not be surprised if like 99% of the current Diablo 4 player base that's even left is literally just bots farming.
Hey folks, this is Riker, and if Diablo 4 Season 6 has been so great, why has everyone stopped playing? Steam numbers are down, and they're down considerably faster than Season 5. In other words, people played Season 5 for longer than they're playing Season 6. So, why might that be? We'll explore that in this video. We'll also talk about the upcoming campfire chat.
Yep, this is the game. This is literally the game. This is very, very, very end game, by the way. This is tier 90. Okay, it's not super ultimate end game, but this is very much the end game. And this is the gameplay. Exactly like Diablo 3. And that's very boring and dull and dumb.
Some concluding thoughts on the Halloween event, as well as touch upon some other gaming news of the week, like the leak of a Warcraft 2 remaster, some Path of Exile 2 news.
Yeah, does this look fun? No. And the sad part is playing this is also not exactly fun, okay? Now, I'm not saying you're stupid to be a Diablo 4 fan, but, you know, there is difference, okay? If you're someone who's pushing the ladder boards and in best of the world, all power to you. If you're someone who's literally just playing 10 minutes a day and you get to, like, Paragon level, I don't know, 50 or 100, all power to you because you're not taking the game seriously. But if you're legitimately someone who's farming Paragon and can't even be on the top ladder boards, I'm sorry, but you just literally filtered yourself out of the gene pool. And pretty goddamn hot, because that's pathetic.
And more. And as a reminder, folks, if you need any tips or guides for Diablo 4, I have all my video content categorized on my website, Riker.com, which brings us to a word from this video's sponsor. I built my website using Squarespace, and I was able to...
No one cares.
Alright, starting with the Diablo 4 news, we're getting a campfire chat next Tuesday for the mid-season update. It'll start at 11 a.m. Pacific. They'll go through class balance changes, content updates, and more, with the usual Q&A at the end. Now, what are you folks hoping to hear during the campfire chat? Because as for me, I'm hoping to see some love given to the classes that are not named Spiritborn. You know, give a little shake up to the meta. Now, the Halloween event came and went.
Diablo 4 players have been coping around this since the release of Vessel of Hatred, by the way. It's not happening.
We spoke at length about it in last week's video, and I polled you folks earlier this week asking what you thought of the event. 46% of you said it's better than nothing. 36% said you'd rather get...
Which is literally saying this event should not exist because it's honestly offensive.
Nothing. 15% said you didn't like the event, and 4% said you liked the event. Not exactly great numbers all around. And I think for a lot of people, it just didn't really feel like an event was even taking place. One could easily go the entire event.
And there is an explanation, by the way, why this is happening. And again, the explanation is pretty brutal if you're an actual current Diablo 4 player and fan or whatever. And that is because Blizzard knows that the player numbers are so down that only the hardcore player base is left. And hardcore people literally who just play Diablo 4 and nothing else. And that means that they can add an event, they can not add an event, they can nerf a class, not nerf a class, and they're not going to literally gain or lose player base because the only players left are very, very, very sadly desperate. Or slop.
Without doing a nightmare dungeon and running into any of the shrines. If you had somehow accidentally skipped the splash screen that you get when you load in during the event and just went straight into the game, you may literally have not even noticed that there was an event going on at all. Now, if we compare this to the Diablo Immortal Halloween event, which ran from October 9th to November 6th, we see that the town hub in Diablo Immortal was decorated in pumpkins and whatnot. Very festive, feels like something is going on, the world is different. Then they brought back a recurring event called Survivor's Bane. It's something they've brought in a couple of times. It's this mini
extremely homosexual
game with roguelike gameplay, similar to Vampire Survivors, where you have to defend against endlessly spawning enemies while collecting.
And you know why this is? By the way, this also has a perfect explanation. It's because the people who are playing Diablo Immortal are literally whales that spend millions in the game, and whenever the game doesn't bend over backwards to give them something special when they think that they deserve this, they are gonna leave the game and not give Blizzard money. So this is why Diablo Immortal does get a Halloween thing. Also, the Halloween thing probably has some pay-to-win elements to it, so yeah, you get the point, okay? But this is why they get stuff, and Diablo 4 players are just shafted. Because no one respects them. Not Blizzard, not other Diablo 4 players, not ex-Diablo 4 players, not me, nor anyone. Okay, listen, if you're not being the top the top 100 on the leaderboards in this game, you are... I don't even know why you're playing, okay?
Experience orbs to earn new skills. And while they didn't make this event for Halloween, they did give it a Halloween twist with like themed monsters. And they also brought back an event called Howler Hunt, which is basically Immortal's spin on Among Us. Both of these are full-on like mini games built into Diablo Immortal, and playing either of these...
I mean, Diablo Immortal itself, honestly, but that's okay.
Mini games earns you a currency that you can use to then buy some headless cosmetics. Then outside of those, there's also other cosmetics that you can get via a limited time.
That's actually pretty good. Wow. Holy, is this honestly better than anything that Diablo 4 has? Yo, that would be amazingly sad if that was true.
Phantom Market, which is basically cosmetics via loot boxes, but everyone does get one free loot box with a random cosmetic in it. After that, yeah, you gotta spend money. Then there's also some special event cosmetics that you can unlock that you can only use during the Halloween event every year. So kind of like Halloween costumes. Now, I don't know that I love the idea of cosmetics you get that you can only wear during a month, but some of these basically make you look like monsters, like enemies, so I guess I get it. And whether you like it or not, again, I'm not sure how I land on these, I could only wear these cosmetics 1 month out of the year. The fact that they have it, and you run around and now you're seeing people in these, what are Halloween costumes.
How sad it is that he has 14 Paragon points to spend but hasn't spent it. Yeah, that is so sad.
Just during the Halloween event, it does overall enhance the feeling that, hey, we have an event going on right now. It's a special time of the year. And I know what everyone says about Diablo Immortal, mobile game, monetization and all that, but monetization aside, that team cooks.
Wait. How far are we until the point where legitimately we are going to be able to say, yeah, Diablo 4 is worse than Diablo Immortal? How far are we from that point? Unironically. Not even... Literally, I legitimately want to know, because we're kind of near the point where Diablo Immortal is probably going to be a better game than Diablo 4.
Vampire Survivor and Among Us game modes, hell, it'd be cool to see something like that, some kind of crazy ideas like that in D4. Now, onto those Steam numbers. Again, I believe, and a lot of people agree, this is the most fun that Diablo 4 has ever been.
I agree to it. But again, I agree to that. I know, unironically, I do agree to it. It is the most playable it has ever been, but the moment you actually have to... Well, you kind of just play it. That's the thing. The moment you have to do anything else, like start thinking about it, it just becomes tedious, boring, and fucking shit. That's the problem. The moment you actually start struggling with rift clearing, you know, you're fucked. You know, you get to that rift level 50 or 60, and your casual fucking trash build that you made just for funsies no longer is good enough, and now you have the choice. Either not have fun because the game is literally too hard, or you go make a different, stronger build, or 3, maybe you just go copy a meta build or something like that from forum or whatever. And yeah, that's where the game falls apart. And the problem to that is, if you're playing actively, getting to that point probably takes roughly 10 to 20 hours, depending on how fast you are, how good you know the game, and are you using a guide or anything. If you're not using a guide, it took me roughly, I don't know, 15-ish hours to get to, like, Rift 50 or something like that. From start to absolute finish with the storyline. And after that, the game's just boring and shit. It is what it is.
But it's looking like Season 6 actually has worse retention than Season 5. And we're talking both on a relative and an absolute scale. If you look at the Steam charts, and yes, we have to acknowledge that the Steam population represents a small fraction of the overall Diablo 4 player base, so it could be, theoretically, that the Steam player numbers and their concurrent ebbs and flows do not represent the player base at large, but these are the only numbers we can work with. And again, if we're looking at the Steam charts, we see that 4 weeks into Season 6, we're down to only 32% of the peak concurrent players that we saw at launch. Now, compare that to Season 5.
This means that the botting problem is ginormous. At least. Okay, so this is the release of the expansion? Or something like that, right? I don't remember when it released. I think it was October. But yeah, this is when the expansion releases. And the max peak player base for that is like 55k-ish. And then it drops down to its normal 20 or 10k or whatever. That is insane. That either means that literally no one is interested in this game, which is kind of believable, to be honest, or that the botting, at least on Steam, is ginormous. And my joke of 99% of the player base is bots is actually ironically true.
5, where 4 weeks in, we still had 76% of people playing, which that 76 is actually an incredibly impressive number. If you look at the competition, maybe we're looking at like 50% retention about a month in. 76 is staggering.
50% retention is absolutely mind-blowingly high, by the way, if anyone's wondering. 25% retention, and you're still actually kind of doing really, really good.
Good. And, 30 some odd, it's not great, but it's not abysmal.
Riker's an idiot. Don't fucking listen to him, okay? If your game has a 25% retention over seven fucking months or whatever, that's really, really, really amazingly good, especially if your initial numbers were high. Okay? That's really, really, really good.
especially when you consider the fact that it's pretty normal to see a bigger drop off of players when you release either a new game.
Admittedly, everything has exceptions and whatnot, but typically that's good.
Or an expansion. A lot of people are just coming here to play the story, and then they're going to leave. And they're going to be content with that. Just a lot of people are story players. They're not here to keep...
I mean, I'm sorry again. I played the story. It was shit. I didn't skip anything. It was just painfully stupid.
Playing and grinding all the way to...
And if you want to hear my full summary, I literally go through all the story and point out how nonsense it is and how stupid it is at every point, okay? I have a video for that. Just search in Diablo 4 in my channel.
Paragon 300. And we saw the peak player numbers on Steam for Season 6 hit 56,000, compared to only 34,000 for Season 5. That's an increase of about 56%. However, 4 weeks into Season 5, we were down to 26,000 peak concurrent players on Steam. 4 weeks into Season 6, we're down to 18,000. So, however you look at it, people are definitely dropping off faster this season. And again, the question is, why? The progression overhaul is an improvement to the game. The new systems are great.
No, and no. Again, they're better than what was once there. Jesus Christ, that was a fucking Kamala Harris sentence right there. But yes, the new systems have been unburdened by what has been. Enjoy, obviously. But that doesn't mean they're good. Again, if this is the norm, Diablo 4 pretty much started its lifespan here. And now the systems are kinda here. They're still shit in the grand scheme of things, but they're better than what was. So that doesn't make them good necessarily. It just means they are less shit.
Spiritborn is super fun. So why are people leaving sooner? Well, I have a few guesses. First off, I think a lot of people have been enjoying the state of the game so much that they're playing more than they ever have before, and therefore they're burning out sooner.
Wow.
So
okay.
let's say, for argument's sake, that a season has about 200 hours of fun. Just a random number. You can spread those 200 hours over the course of...
Again, I said this once. I said this on like Season 3 or something. The Diablo 4 is going to be that game where you are going to download it, update it on a season release, and then you're roughly going to play it for 2 or 3 hours. And if a season is really good, maybe 5 hours. Over the course of a week or something. Yeah, you're gonna be putting like 1 hour in a day for a week. If it's really, really good. And after that, you're going to forget it exists.
3 months, or you can burn through them in 4 weeks. I know I've been putting in more hours than ever, and I'm kind of feeling burnt out now. Now, a second big factor, though, I think is just the incredible state of unbalance that these Spiritborn bugs are causing. Normally, I play multiple classes per season. When I get bored on one character, I start up another character, and that's how I keep things fresh. And this gives me, every character gives me at least another week of fun. But with the Spiritborn being 1,000,000 times more powerful than other classes, I just can't bring myself to play the other classes. The power disparity is just too great. And I know some of you guys can do it. You can play off-meta builds. You can make your own build. You can run an...
Yeah, but it's just not fun. The reality is it's... the build doesn't matter as long as you're progressing, you're doing things, and blah, 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 and that's fun. The moment it stops, it's not fun. So, again, non-meta builds are never going to be the fun.
F-tier build and have fun, and that's great. I'm happy for you. I really am. But for myself and a lot of other people, we just can't force ourselves to feel a...
Yeah, again, if you're playing a bad build, I play bad builds, but at some point I change them because, again, I want to progress. I change them up, I find something stronger, because I need to progress further. That's the literal point of it, right? There are very, 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 very few people who can legitimately just play an F-tier build, and F-tier is super bad in this case, and yeah, just call it a day and have constant fun. Minority. And if you're part of that minority, that's fine, that's cool, good for you actually, but most people can't.
Certain way. We just can't get there. And I think a third factor is because of how broken the Spiritborn is. It's just so powerful that we've just been blasting through the game faster than we otherwise would have. We farmed up all of our gear and our Masterworks and our Paragon much, much faster. We've conquered all challenges faster. We've deleted any difficulty from the game much faster. And you just reach a point where you feel, well, what's left to do? You become satisfied with your current state of power. Sure, you can go on far more Paragon, but you don't have to, or you don't want to put in the time to. Sure, you can try to farm for perfect gear, but your current gear is good enough because it already obliterates everything in the game. So you just reach a point where you're okay with moving on. That's why I'm really hoping for...
This is, by the way, the casual Path of Exile player situation, aka my situation, by the way. I'm super casual PoE player. Like, 1 out of 3 leagues, I'm actually gonna do endgame or whatever. But, man, 2 out of those 3 leagues, fucking killing Katawa for the first time, it's like, okay, this character is done. I have seen how powerful it is. I have played it to the fullest, and now there's not really any real way to increase how this character performs other than, you know, getting a ring that makes projectiles return to you or some other BS like that that is very, very not inconsequential, to be honest, and just make bigger number. And I play with numbers off, by the way. So yeah.
Or a shakeup with the mid-season patch. I'm hoping it's going to revitalize the season. Now, outside of that, I think for a lot of people, the gear chase right now as well is too difficult. I think farming for good Greater Avix items is...
Yeah, they fucked that one up completely, by the way.
A grind that a lot of players are tapping out of. Now, could be that the drop rates are tuned a bit too low currently. Either that or we need more...
That and we still need a loot filter. Again, dude, the fact that Blizzard just can't fucking add a loot filter is crazy. Because they're effectively fearing of the Starfield map situation. If they add a loot filter, people are instantaneously going to recognize that, wait a minute, this game doesn't even have loot. Getting the right piece of loot is impossible. And, you know, it's going to be the Starfield map situation where adding a map kind of useful, but at the same time, it just exposes how literally empty everything is.
More protections for multiple Greater Affix items rolling well. By the same token, though, I do think it's important for the game to not become too easy, and it's just an incredibly difficult balancing game that the devs have to play. If it's too easy to power up, then, well, we're all done with the game in a week, which means that we had 1 week of fun, but then we have 3 months of nothing. But then if it's too hard to gear up, then people just burn out, stop having fun, and they give up at some point. And the devs have to find just the right difficulty to keep you chasing long enough to maximize your fun. But the biggest problem is everyone has a different threshold here. And so the devs have to figure out how to set the rates that maximize the fun for the greatest amount of people. And that means that things will be too hard for some players all the way on one end of the spectrum, and they're going to give up. And that means it'll also be too easy for players on...
Anyway, I feel that said. That was Riker, 10 out of 10. Have a nice day. Bye.